Hey, this is Andrew Aversa with Impact Soundworks, and what better way to start 2025 off than by reading some comments? But this time, we're not just going to be looking at YouTube comments, we're also going to look at Facebook, Instagram, comments on our ads, just all kinds of stuff. It should be pretty fun. Let's dive in. All right, Mabo from Facebook writes, why can't we have a trial version of the guitars? All right, good question. This is something that is a little bit frustrating as a developer of contact instruments. There really isn't a way that we can do, for example, you can use the instrument for 15 minutes and then it times out, or you can use the instrument, but there's a little bit of noise every 30 seconds. You know, the kind of thing that you see with plugins. For example, our SHREDDAGE amp XTC or Tape Sculptor, we can do that kind of demo thing because we have full control over the code base, but we can't do that with Contact and Contact Player. So the next best thing is when we make free versions of certain libraries. For example, we have Tokyo Scoring Strings free, then we have our SHREDDAGE 3 Stratus free and Precision free. That way we can give you as much time as you want just with a certain feature set. So like for Stratus, it doesn't have all the articulations, it doesn't have all the pickups, it doesn't have the full range, but it can still do quite a lot. So I would say the next step for us, and I'm hoping that we can do this year, is to bring more of our guitars into the free model. So we would have like a SHREDDAGE 3 Hydra free. We'll see what happens. All right, Wally Sound 55 writes, nothing will replace a good pedal steel player. Use this junk and you will sound like a hack. Do me a favor and support your local musicians. Hire a steel player. Okay, I completely understand where this kind of comment comes from. It's actually a very common sentiment that we see if we have an ad for one of our, virtual guitars. We'll get inevitably comments from guitarists saying this is taking away work from people, or this is an insult to guitarists, something like that. And again, I completely understand it, but I think they are missing the point a little bit. The point of a virtual instrument is not to replace the real thing one-to-one. The point is to give you a very good representation of it that can let you create good mock-ups, and in some cases be almost as realistic as the real thing. I have never heard a virtual instrument that is literally one-to-one exactly as good. It's kind of like 3D graphics, right? So 3D graphics have gotten better and better over time, and the latest video games and movies are so close to being realistic, but it's like getting to 100%, we're so close, but we're not there yet, and it seems like we may never get there. The thing is, even if they were completely realistic, so let's say we had a pedal steel instrument or a guitar, and you literally could not tell the difference. The live player would still be better if you had the money for it, because obviously hiring a live player is much more expensive than using a virtual instrument, because live players have that experience of knowing how to articulate the notes. They might adjust a melody or rhythms. They might adjust where they're playing. A lot of people, when they write for virtual orchestra, write things that might not sound good in a real player's range. So an arranger or an orchestrator might look at a part and they might say, this might sound good with samples, but when you have a live orchestra, you're going to want to write it this way. So that's one of the big values of a live musician, a live player, somebody that really has that experience. And I think that anybody that has the budget to hire them will continue to do so. People still prefer to hire an orchestra rather than using sample libraries if there's the budget for it. Most people just don't have the budget for it. A lot of the people that use our libraries, probably 30 or 40%, are hobbyists. They're bedroom musicians. They are never going to have the resources to pay, let's say, a pedal steel player to perform on a whole album worth of tracks. That might cost $1,000 of session time. So that bedroom musician is not taking any work away from the pedal steel player. The other thing is that we try to compensate musicians really well, really fairly. We've paid easily hundreds of thousands, maybe in the millions at this point. It's hard to say. And a lot of these musicians have been very appreciative of the work, particularly like the solo players, like a solo guitarist, because how many projects do you know where you can get, $4,000 or $5,000, $10,000 for recording at your leisure at home in between other things? Like, it's a pretty good deal. So bottom line, we are not trying to replace the real thing. If you can afford the real thing, you should always hire a live player, if for no other reason than their experience. Solar Vision writes, funny thing is, no one has ever decided to do a tutorial on making a rock record through MIDI in FL Studio. Immediately, it's as if this can't be done. They're looking for a more comprehensive tutorial, not just, how to use SHREDDAGE 3 Hydra or something like that. They want to see a more complete song tutorial? Well, we've done that once so far. There was a song I did called Nitro, and I showed all the different parts of how that song came together. The guitar, bass, mixing, drums. You can check that out right here. I have a link in the description, and hopefully the card in the corner will be showing it right now. But absolutely, I want to do more of that. It's just something that is a little bit challenging, right? Creating the song is one thing, but then organizing it and explaining it, presenting it, editing that video, it's time consuming. It's mostly me doing the video production, so it's something I absolutely want to do in 2025. More is coming. Mac Rose writes, trash. Thank you. Okay, Andy Dorman writes, absolutely no idea if this is good or not, though I suspect it is, but it's so refreshing to see an ad for VST/samples that sells on its own strengths and pricing without resorting to 90% off nonsense. Well done. Thank you. This is actually a topic that strikes a little bit of a nerve with a lot of people, myself included, because I think the music software industry is in a little bit of a panic or crisis. It seems like a lot of companies have latched onto this model of we have to have our stuff on sale all the time, or almost all the time. And we have to have these list prices, MSRP, that are very high so that we can do these discounts of, 70, 80%, because it gives people that FOMO, the fear of missing out. This, to me, is sort of like the model that hasn't worked so well for big box stores, Macy's, JCPenney, these department stores where you walk in and everything is on sale, coincidentally, every time you go there. Obviously, they want people to feel like they're getting a deal every time they go in, but the problem is when everything is on sale all the time, then you become numb to it, and also it becomes impossible to ever stop selling your products at a discount. Like, you're kind of locked into that price. I definitely don't want to name names in the music software industry, but I'm sure you can think of some pretty big name brands where they have these insane sales constantly and nobody ever buys the plugins at full price anymore. I don't think that is a good, sustainable, healthy business position to be in. And so our philosophy with discounts has been, we only do catalog-wide discounts pretty much twice a year. We do it in the summer, and then we do it for a couple weeks at the end of the year. Anytime other than that, with a few exceptions. So once in a while, we'll do flash sales on like maybe a handful of products, like a couple times a year if we have like a big update or something like that. And then also what we really like to do for discounts is reward our existing customers. So we have this personalized deal system where if you log into your portal, you can look at offers based on what you already own. The more things you own, for example, in the SHREDDAGE series, you're going to get better and better discounts on other SHREDDAGE guitars. But that's not like a sale, that's more like a loyalty discount, right? There's a difference. And then we also have like a complete my bundle thing where if you purchased 2 products out of a 5-product bundle, then you get a proportional discount when you purchase the rest of that bundle. So these kinds of things, I think we can deliver value. We can make people feel like they're getting a good deal without having to price our products at some insane list price that nobody's ever going to pay, and then say, oh, it's 80% off, because I just don't like it. It doesn't feel totally honest. That's my answer. And thank you for recognizing it. On YouTube, Dave Cuz Tech writes, are you going to create a VST3 of Super Audio Cart? It could be great. Contact is pretty slow. Great question. This is something that we've certainly seen before. People have asked us, why don't you make a standalone SHREDDAGE? Why don't you make standalone Super Audio Cart? It's very understandable, and it's easy to ask that question if you're not familiar with the music software development. The honest, real truth, and this might be surprising if you've never heard people talk about these numbers before, if we were to create our own sampler that could do like one of our somewhat less complicated libraries, like a SHREDDAGE 3 as opposed to something with look ahead like Tokyo Scoring Strings, I would say to get a version 1 that would have some performance problems, some bugs, some compatibility issues, that would be like $500,000 to $1 million of software development, and probably minimum of a year to 2 years. For a small business like ours, it is a huge risk to do something like that. And that's why you only really ever see the bigger players in the virtual instrument space do that. Or you see companies do that. They might make a custom sampler if the needs of the sampler are pretty simple. So they don't have, crazy complex logic with modulation matrices and special legato and things like that. Because there are some out-of-the-box solutions to create a custom plugin that acts like a sampler. But if you want to get the kind of advanced scripting that that we are increasingly using across our products, those out-of-the-box solutions are not going to work so well. So the short answer is that the resource investment to do that is beyond us right now. It's too much of an investment when we want to make sure that we're focusing on our core development and supporting the staff and the customers we have right now. But there's another layer to this, which is that there's no guarantee, even with really good software developers, that the product that we end up with, the plugin, is actually going to be better than Contact, right? Contact has over 2 decades of development, and for all of its problems, of which there are a lot of problems with Contact, particularly on the development side, but it is a pretty rock solid sample playback system. It's probably one of the most, if not the most efficient at streaming from the hard drive. And the proof of this, I think, you can look to a company like East West. They developed their own sampler 15, 16 years ago, something like that. And it was years before the consensus on it was that it works pretty well. There were years and years where people said the performance isn't good, the compatibility isn't good, we like the Contact version more. Look at Spitfire. Spitfire is a huge company, much bigger than us. Lots of resources, lots of talent. They still make Contact libraries. And I think that's kind of interesting, and it shows that while yes, they have confidence in their player for some things, they're also recognizing that Contact might be better at other things, and or that there is a percentage of people where their player doesn't work well for them, or they just prefer Contact for one reason or another. So to make a player that's better than Contact in 100% of cases, I can't really think of a lot of companies that have done that where everybody says, yes, this is definitely better than the Contact version. So it's a really big risk. I wouldn't rule it out for us in the future, really, who can say, right? But there's no plans at the moment to do something like that. Okay, we got a message from somebody that just said, okay, but make it cheaper, please, because I am poor. Not to repeat myself, but this kind of connects to what I was talking about with the discounts, right? There is an expectation, I think, because we see these ridiculous, massive sales on different websites for like 80, 90% off, that some people might feel like a virtual instrument that's like $100 or $150, like, wow, that's overpriced compared to, you know, this $15 thing I got on sale. I'm not saying that's the case with this person, but there's a component of that. But I also recognize that paying $150, for example, for like a flagship instrument, it's not the cheapest, right? There's certainly more expensive virtual instruments and plugins out there. Like, for example, Omnisphere is several times that expensive. Native Instruments Complete is quite a bit more expensive. There's some real flagship libraries out there, especially in the orchestral space, that are much more expensive. But there are also things that are a lot cheaper than $150, especially if you look at the subscription stuff, where you might be able to pay like $10 or $15 a month and get access to a whole lot of stuff. So I completely understand and acknowledge that Impact Soundworks products are never going to be like the cheapest option for any given thing. That being said, you don't always have to pay full price, right? You can wait for the summer sale or a holiday sale, and you can usually get a really good discount then. We have the personalized deals. Even if you get free stuff, if you get like SHREDDAGE 3 Stratus free, and then you go check your personalized deals, you're going to see some deals for not free products. If you're subscribed to the mailing list, like if you sign up on our website, you get a discount on your first order. And then also we have some discount programs, first of all, for students and educators. So you can apply for an academic discount by emailing our support. You just provide proof of being enrolled in some kind of school or being a teacher there, and we can give you a discount. Also, if you're on fixed income, so in the United States, that would be Social Security, disability, something like that. We work with an organization called Able Artists, and they can give you a discount. If you talk to them, we give them coupons. So when they verify that, you'll get a coupon that you can use for another percentage discount. So while we're never going to be the cheapest, we do try to make it so that the people that need the financial kind of assistance the most have some ways of lowering the price. Estelio90 on YouTube writes, Brian May guitar. The reason I'm bringing this up is not to talk about a Brian May guitar specifically, but actually it's that we actively collect and track product suggestions. So when somebody emails us and says, you guys should really make a dobro or a clawhammer banjo or something like that, that gets logged in our internal tracking system, which we actually just upgraded a few weeks ago. And then as we do our quarterly planning and we look at what projects could we start, one of the factors that we use is what are people requesting. If you have a request for something, actually the best way to make sure that that request gets logged in our system and meaningfully contributes to our decision making, send us an email and say, suggestion for a new library, suggestion for a new plugin. That will get logged in our system with your email, and yeah, we'll actually consider it. There have been a lot of libraries that we've created that directly came from user requests. This comment, my current issue is that I want to do a root and octave style power chord. This would be E3 and E4. You get the idea. And you note in the screenshot that it was posted 4 times. That's actually all I could fit in the screenshot. It's posted a lot more than that across many different videos. The reason I'm highlighting this comment is to say that we do have people either writing YouTube comments or sending us a message on Instagram or responding to a Facebook post with something like a support request, like a technical support request. While we do try to address those on whatever medium they were posted in, the only guaranteed way to get support is to email our support. Go to our website, go to the support page, contact us, and send us a ticket. Our ticketing system is based on things submitted through our website. We don't really have a way to integrate those platforms like private messages or YouTube comments into that same ticketing system. The ticket form allows us to collect really important information like what contact version are you using? What operating system? Is this a problem that happens in the DAW, or does it happen in standalone, like when you just run contact by itself, or does it happen in both cases? Because sometimes there's a difference. So if you just leave a comment, then you're not going through that intake process. And so even if we do respond to the comment, we're probably going to say contact our support and fill out the form because we need more of that information. This is just like a PSA. The Little Wilson Band 7512 says, somebody get this guy a solid keyboard stand. Great playing. This is related to our Altera keys demonstrations. It's just kind of funny. There were 3 on-camera videos that we did. I did one, and then we had 2 other really talented musicians do demos for Altera keys. And it just so happened that 2 of them had like a very wobbly setup. And yeah, it's just kind of like a funny thing. Yeah, they probably should have had more solid keyboard stands, but that was not the priority. The priority was making the library sound good, which it does and did in those videos. So yeah, there you go. Here's a comment by Patrick Goethals 3235 that writes, I suspect you can't do this on a computer keyboard and that you need MIDI keys. Is this correct? Very fair question. This is something that a lot of newer users ask. So the answer is that on our development team, we have people that primarily write just using the mouse, like clicking in notes in a piano roll or a staff view. And we have people that write or play using a keyboard, like a MIDI controller. So all of our libraries are configured in such a way that you can use them either way. And for things like the SHREDDAGE series and Tokyo Scoring Strings and the VENTUS series, we offer systems where you can map articulations and change things pretty much however you want. Some people like to use key switches if they're sequencing things, like if they're using the mouse to write, but that might not work as well for live playing. So for those people, you might change it so that articulations trigger based on a MIDI CC, like the mod wheel, or the velocity that you play at. Not everybody has the same workflow. And so yeah, the short answer is you absolutely do not need a MIDI keyboard. That being said, just as a personal, subjective opinion, I find that recording first with the MIDI keyboard can help you get a little bit more nuance. If I just click everything in with the mouse, it takes me a little bit more time to humanize it, but your mileage may vary. This last one, this is Lance writes, nice treatment on the strings in this audio, some added reverb and widening of the field maybe. I think this was Tokyo Scoring Strings. The reason I brought this one up is not to respond to the comment, but it's just to show how stupid all of this generative AI auto chat, auto writing stuff is. The text that you see below that, I didn't write that. That's YouTube giving me AI automatically generated text. And it's just so ridiculous because it doesn't make any sense. It's like word salad. YouTube does not know what we did with the audio, right? It's the 2.0 version, so you're getting a wider, more expansive string section. No, that's not true. It's not wider. It's the same string section with a little more stereo spread. This is just nonsense. And a touch of reverb to give it more space. Or the other option, great ear. We've added a few features to this release for a more nuanced and sophisticated sound, and that's part of it. No. The stuff we added to Tokyo Scoring Strings 2.0 was not added reverb and widening of the field. It's just like slop. That's the word that people have used lately. This probably merits its own video. Honestly, there's been so much that's happened with generative AI as it affects music and to some extent virtual instruments that I'd love to talk about it more, but it's just ridiculous. Like I cannot imagine using things like that. And I've seen other companies do it. I'm not going to name names, but I've seen people write marketing text or product copy, and you can tell an LLM wrote it because it's just baffling. Anyway, I love reading these comments. There's so many more I could respond to. Let's save some for the next video. This has been Andrew Versa with Impact Soundworks. I will see you in the next one.